Star Wars fans, we are here live and let's get this podcast started. All right, we're going to talk. All right, everybody, we got the spoilers up. I'm just letting you know we are going to talk about Bad Batch, the final. So if you are tuning in, hopefully you watched it. If not, turn this off because we're going to spoil a bunch of stuff for you.
Yeah. If not, go watch it and then come back once this is saved and check it out.
Exactly. So first off, happy birthday, dude.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Pretty cool that it's your birthday on all this Star Wars weekend stuff. So
Always is.
Pretty cool.
With the exception to the last handful of years, usually Star Wars would come out in May, so it was a nice little treat every time it would happen. So
that's pretty cool. So this is what we're going to talk about. There's no Omega there, but dude, I got chills. I got teary eyed. It was crazy. What was your first thought, or what was your thought overall?
I was anxious the whole time. Probably in the similar spots where you got goosebumps or teary eyed. I was like, my stomach hurt. If that makes sense. Just because, I'm. There were points in there where I did not think Omega was going to get out. Actually,
yeah,
thought it was running too smooth. But before we get into all that, I thought it was great, and I left the episode feeling good. And satisfied is the wrong word, but I'm like, I'm good, considering how anxious I was going into it. How about you?
For sure. Yeah, I was too. I just, again, I was so happy when I hit that, button and it said 51 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew we were down for a good episode. I thought at the beginning, the way Wrecker was going, that he might not make it, and then as Crosshair kept trying to push them away, he was trying to go be the hero and sacrifice himself, and they were all like, nope, you're staying here. We are, we're sticking together, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, that was actually the first thing that stressed me out was I didn't think Wrecker was even going to make it in.
Yeah.
And then, Crosshair kind of doing the loner thing, or trying to do the loner thing, which has been his pitfall for the whole series, a little nervous about that. And then, the Zilla Beast was sick. You had mentioned to me first that that's how they get out. And you were correct. That was a great call.
Well, and I figured, again, Dave doesn't put stuff in there, just randomly.
For no reason.
I figured when we saw that, in a couple episodes earlier, it was going to be, something had to happen. And I figured, it's so big and enormous, they can't shoot it with their laser guns or whatever you want to call them, So again, once it got out and free, it was just going to cause havoc, which it did, and obviously, Omega knew that, because she's knows what that can do. So I thought that was cool that she was able to do that, and I also thought it was cool when they were talking. I don't know if it was Wrecker and Hunter, and we're like, was that Echo or Omega? And they both were like,
oh. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I liked also when Echo was figuring it out, and he said, well, that was Omega, and he's like, because that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
It shows that sort of through line with all of the cool clones,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was a little bummed out that we lost some time in between, like, when they get back and Omega's older. But you got me?
Yep.
I was bummed because like that's stuff I love to see, and I get it for storytelling purposes. That we do the time jump and everything, and that's cool, and I'm cool with that. But uh, seeing Hunter old, man, that was
Yeah,
tough for me at the end.
yeah, it was a little heartbreaking, and
Yeah,
but I but I thought it was good way to end it because again, that gives Dave some projection to do whatever.
yeah.
Again, I still think that he's going to have something come up with that, with the three of them. I think that what were we talking about before with the other clones with Rex,
Hmm.
Gregor, and come on, who's the other one?
Wolf.
Yeah,
We were
Wolf.
talking yesterday about how
Yeah,
they might come in before we had seen it. They might come in and help, but they're always around helping.
yeah.
Uh, you
Well, and
know,
he did try to did he tell Echo or I think that somebody to try to reach out to Rex.
yeah,
They don't show it doing it, so I
yeah,
wasn't sure if they were just like going to come in and sort of be the cavalry at the end,
hmm,
and sort of help out that way. But obviously, they didn't show him reaching out, and they didn't show up, which was fine. I mean, I think they did a great job
yeah,
getting everybody situated again with those other new CX or whatever those troopers
mhm.
are. I mean, they're some badasses, but
Yeah,
in freeing everybody, which I thought was cool with the clones, that sort of helped them, with the
yeah.
cavalry.
I wasn't expecting that, but when they got everybody out and they were collecting blasters, I was like, oh, this is brilliant. You know, um, if nothing else, like having numbers and being able to take it all
Yeah,
down at once. Um, I thought the CX guys were really cool, and I think the big thing for me was seeing them kind of get out of the spoiler alert, uh, see them get out of the chambers and kind of like a little zombie-ish,
yeah,
so that you're not there's no doubt they're bad, and
yeah.
like there's no doubt they're like beyond saving for as far as clones go, you know. Um, ties into something that you've mentioned on the show many times, which is that Hemlock is a bad guy.
Yeah.
So I want to know your thoughts. How do you think that wrapped up for?
Oh, I thought it was fantastic. I
Yeah.
mean, it was Hunter and Crosshair.
Mhm.
Crosshair hit the handcuffs. Which he was a little skeptical about, but again, just what probably hit him 5, 6, 10 times, who knows, and then just to fall off the bridge,
Yeah.
into oblivion. Again, I don't think he's coming back as much as
Right.
we've talked about. We
Yeah.
don't see them die, but again, I think he was probably already gone by the
We
time.
got we got to
You know,
stop the resurrections at some point.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
uh,
Yeah, and again, necromancer, right? Um,
Necromancer. Yeah.
doesn't really for a long, long time. It really doesn't. So again, I thought that was really cool how they tied that in. I thought when Rampart went in, I wasn't sure what he was going to do, but he was a bad guy till the end.
Yeah. And shout out Nala Say.
Yeah. Yeah, and
You
I
know.
figured that's what she was gonna do.
Mhm.
Again when she had that, and when he shot her, I was just like, okay, here we go. Because she
Yeah.
had the bomb in her hand,
Yeah.
and the two of them, and again they confirm everything, which I thought they tied everything off really well. The whatever the commander went to Rampart and said, hey, listen, you know what? It's been destroyed.
Yeah.
Nothing was reconciled, or nothing was saved or anything like that. So again, there's no question there that they pretty much have to start over again. You
Which we
know,
were talking about that yesterday with Necromancer being, if Omega is the key right now for their research, they don't figure it out. They don't. They barely even figure it out for like another 40 years or so. So, the thought was that Necromancer has to go down in some way, uh, you know, soon, and that's what happened. So I would love to see more stories about that, just because they mention it in the Mandalorian, which is
right?
down the line from where we're at in the Bad Batch timeline. So someone might have picked it up, or obviously Palpatine's like, well, we need to figure this out, without
Oh yeah,
start over, obviously. But thought it was a good tie-in to have Tarkin,
yeah,
you know, redirect funds to
yeah,
Stardust. That's
yeah,
great tie-in,
yeah,
especially considering like that's even forget if it's in the Thrawn books over here.
Right.
Uh, forget if it's in the Thrawn books or actually in Rebels, but there's that little like wrestling all the time with the high end Imperials of like whose project gets more attention.
Oh yeah.
Like Thrawn had a TIE fighter program where the TIEs had shields and hyperspace capabilities, all this stuff that would have, had they gone that route, might have really messed up the Rebel Alliance later on.
Oh, for
Uh,
sure.
but it ends up going all to Tarkin, who's actually, the project is actually Krennic's, and they're all competing. Like you see in Andor all the time, they're all competing. So I
Yeah.
thought it was a nice little tie-in. Now that Necromancer is like, I mean, at this point, gone.
Right.
Tarkin
Well,
gets,
even with Rogue One,
yeah,
you have the hierarchy trying to, fight, and Tarkin's in there again. Now he's like, hey, I'm going to take over the Death Star. you
yep,
know.
he knows what
So
he's doing.
again, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Um, yeah, it was good. I really think that hopefully we'll get some more. We'll get some more information on what's going to happen. I was listening to some other podcasts and some Instagram stuff. Whether Omega's going to go on, because technically that's probably right around the time now where she's grown up. Maybe a few more years. To get into that Mandalorian era. But she's already in the rebellion. It sounds like.
hmm
She's going to go to be a pilot.
yeah.
You
Um,
know,
Probably depends on how far along, how old she is when we see her,
yeah,
because that could be any number of years. Obviously, she's like an adult. I feel like a young adult when we see her
yeah.
at the end of the episode. And Hunter's obviously old. I don't recall if they ever say that the Bad Batch is age accelerated like the rest of them.
Yeah, I forgot. Well, she's
She's
because
not.
right, because she's older than them,
Yeah, but
but she's
okay, so
not.
they are.
Yeah,
So I mean, man, it could be 5, 10 years, it could be 20. I don't know, like
yeah.
where,
I would say probably closer to 20 is what I
yeah,
would say.
and that would push
Um,
her out into the Mandalorian time.
yeah,
Um,
because again, it's like, well, Mandalorian is what, 6 to 9 years after um the
After
second
Jedi,
Death Star. Yeah,
yeah. So, and you know, I hesitate to say this because I loved the Bad Batch, and I obviously will watch any animated series that comes out of it, and I would love to see it. But that's what I meant earlier about being satisfied, is that sometimes I take things a little too literally or a little too figuratively, and I feel like the line where Hunter says she'll be fine,
yeah,
that put me at ease overall. Like Omega's story is probably great, and I don't know if I need to be checking in on her later on. Like I think she's going to be heroic no matter what, and that stuff's going to happen, and I would love to see it. But I
yeah,
get it if it's she's going to be fine. Bad Batch is good, you know. That's how I like felt it, and I might be reaching, but um, yeah, it'd be interesting to see where they would pick that up.
yeah, yeah. And I think they will
Yeah.
eventually. I don't think we're done with the bad. I think we're done with the Clone Force 99, so
hmm
to speak. But I guess Omega is still part of that. But the Bad Batch, I think we will probably see some more of her.
hmm
I'm guessing. Again, I think at that point, the rest of the guys are, and I forget the name of the planet, but they're there. They're hanging out. They're getting older.
hmm
So she knows, hey, I'm out. Love y'all. I'm gonna go do my thing. Which was pretty cool. So hey, I got one person. Ryan, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for popping on here. Appreciate you. I always shave my. He said, "Yes." Wait, why did I shave? I summertime. So, but yeah. So if you're still on here, he popped up there. So, but
Ryan.
appreciate you jumping on here, brother.
Yeah.
Again, we are talking the final season of Bad Batch. So if you just jumped on, please, if you haven't seen it yet, you might want to jump off. If you like spoilers, then stay on here. But we are talking live about the final season of Bad Batch. again, I thought it was great how we went back and forth.
Hmm.
We weren't sure, and then they captured everybody, and they're just torturing the hell out of them, which is, insane. And Rampart, he just doesn't care, you know. Um,
Yeah, I
David
didn't.
does a great job.
Yeah, I didn't. I liked actually that he stayed bad.
Yeah,
Um, and he never really. He just got his. Um, but I'm glad that everyone made it out. I just really thought we'd lose them all. I really thought we'd
yeah.
lose.
Do a
Uh,
Rogue One.
yeah, I really thought Omega'd be the only one to get out of it. So I'm relieved that that didn't happen. Um, Tech was enough.
Yeah, yeah, for
uh,
sure. And again, a lot of people were talking about that, but then who it was or whatever. Obviously, it was just clones. I think.
yeah,
It wasn't anybody specific. So, Ryan, what was your thoughts? He's still here, so
yeah.
shoot,
Let's hear it.
chat, and what were your thoughts? And you got any questions or what the future of the Bad Batch or Omega is? Um,
And
so
anyone else
yeah,
in the
huh?
chat, feel free to say. And anyone else in the chat, feel free to
Yeah, we
pop
got
in
three
their
three
thoughts.
people on here. Woohoo! We're
Nice,
building it up.
great.
Uh, Again, we're talking Bad Batch. Spoilers ahead. But I thought it was cool how they did, capture them, and we really weren't sure what was going to go on, and then she's there again. I thought it was cool once, her and Echo hooked up. She really wasn't sure what was going on. I think we all sort of knew that it was, Echo coming around the corner like that.
Yeah, I like this happened in the prior episode, but I liked um, Emery
Yeah,
sort of feeling compelled to help Echo finally,
yeah,
and Ryan chiming in here was worried about Wrecker at the start of the episode. I agree. I said earlier I didn't think he was making it even um, into the base. I thought he would fend off their first wave and we'd lose them one by one. So I'm glad he made it. But he was pretty messed up,
yeah, yeah.
especially
Especially for him, because
yeah.
he's the big guy, the strong guy, nothing really hurts him. So he got pretty banged up.
And then
You
when
know,
when Omega said to the kid that my friend's afraid of heights too, and he's the strongest soldier I know, I was
yeah,
like, oh man, I think if she's saying that, that means he's gonna go, like bringing
yeah,
him up, But we made it. It's good.
yeah. Well, one of the crazy parts, the touching or goosebumps for me was when she sees Hunter and Crosshair for the first time, and
Mhm.
she hugs Crosshair first.
Yeah, I noticed
It was
that
like I
too.
was like, "Holy cow, that's awesome!" Because
He
again,
needed,
they had that bond.
yeah, he needed that.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
would
thought
I
it
would
was
have liked to see the other two, sort of, and maybe Wrecker wasn't around, but it sounded like he was, But just to see the other two as old guys too would have been sort of cool to wrap it up that way.
Mhm. um, Brian says was really hoping for closure on Commander Cody, but I feel there's a setup for more Clone Rebellion. I agree. I think that's coming. Um, I think the vehicle for stories like Commander Cody go through Rex and whatever happens with him. And I'd be willing. I'm not a betting person, but I'd be willing to bet we got something with Rex forever. Rex
Yeah,
has been in so much. He's kind of an easy one to root for and put into things. I think so. Ron, you want to mention to Ryan what we were talking about yesterday about Rex and Gregor and Wolf and what?
yeah. And I don't know if you were on there, Ryan, but I've heard a couple things, and maybe you have too. But I think there's going to be like the three that come up in Rebels, with Gregor, Wolf and Rex. I think we're going to get sort of a spin off of that, possibly with, maybe Fennec, and Asajj in there. I was also reading, they were talking about I forget her name, but the lady that does the voice acting for Ventress, has mentioned this is just the appetizer.
Yeah.
So, maybe maybe she'll get her own.
Hmm.
I think that would be cool. I think that would be a great, thing to jump in, throw in Quinlan there. Again, we're going back to canon with the books, but again, Dave has put that out there to show you hey, we still got Cad Bane, who's a badass, and just he's going to do whatever the Emperor tells, or he's going to do whatever anybody gives him money for.
Yeah.
You have Ventress, who's back, and she's sort of it's almost like a gray,
Mhm.
Jedi. She's not really she's out for herself, yes, but she's not out to, for she sees what the Empire is and the Emperor is doing,
Mhm.
So I think it's interesting, and I think I think we will find out about Cody for sure because again, Dave doesn't put this stuff in there just randomly,
Yeah.
with what and Wolf's one of his favorites. So again, I think that it could be a cool little thing, and we might have Cody in that if they do a spinoff with that, So
I
this
I
weekend, go ahead.
I have a question for Ryan. He can drop in the chat before we move on. Is if we get some closure on Cody, do you think he's one of the good ones still, or do you think that we'll lose him? Because we don't get everybody all the time. So um, we lost plenty to being commandos for um, Hemlock or getting sucked into his project. So I'm wondering how they would close that because I think we got Wolf is in the door.
Yeah.
Obviously, Gregor and Rex and Echo and everybody are in the door. Um, I wonder what will need to happen for Cody. Um,
Okay.
uh, Ryan says heard the rumor for Obi-Wan that he was going to be in that. I heard that too. Um, I also think I wanted to see him or something like that, but I did like how it happened where it was like a homeless clone, and
Yeah.
Obi-Wan gave him money. Uh, that way he's not compromised or anything like that. But
Yeah, I think, man, if they brought him or Rex back again, into a live action, I think that would be outstanding. Just to
oh
see just seeing Rex, in Ahsoka, for during the Clone Wars, jump back. I think that was really cool. Um, yeah, a 501st, for sure. I think they could do a really cool thing with that for sure.
I think he's talking about the clone in Obi-Wan, the homeless one that had the
Oh,
five
okay. Yeah, yeah,
armor.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy too, isn't it? But uh, so that's what I was going to ask you actually is when we see Omega, if we're going to see Omega next, uh, what's your gut telling you on whether it's live action or animated?
Honestly, I think it might be live action. It might be
Mhm.
in that Grogu. Again, I'm not exactly sure of the timeline. I'm sure somebody will throw it up here at some point, but um, I I think that would be a cool thing to, they could portray her, as a pilot, even if it's not a big part, because again, yes, everybody has midichlorians, and I don't know if, you know, they'll use any of that. They really
Mhm.
didn't. Obviously, that she does have that, but again, unless Asajj comes back to train her or something like that, either way, I would hope we get to see her again.
Yeah,
Yeah, either way, Ryan, if we see her animated, that would be great. Again, if they go back to those three guys, during Rebels, I don't know how old she would be, but I think it would be cool to have her pop in or something. But I think again, it's going to be interesting because she was a main character in this.
yeah,
So if they bring her back, I really think that they have to have her as more than just a cameo.
yeah. And I would agree. I love Omega. I want to see her again. I'm cool with this being the end of her story too. This is a great ending. She's got her own path that she's going on, and she has purpose. And the Bad Batch has purpose through her, but they're also at peace.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's probably the mark of a good ending is that it definitely could go on, but um, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad that the Clone Force, what's left of Clone Force 99, is okay. Um, I'm glad that they have purpose. There's my dad. Thanks. Well, happy birthday. uh,
Nice.
appreciate it. Um, but I'm glad that everyone's good. And like I said, I'm cool with just imagining that Omega's fine doing what she needs to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think again with books and comics too, we might see her again in those. You
Hmm.
know, so many of these new books coming out. So again, are they going to drop a book about the last whatever? I'd say probably close to 20 years because what is technically what do you think? Maybe she's 10 or 12 years old, at the end, and I think she's like you said in her at least in her you know mid mid to late 20s.
Yeah. How
You
old?
know,
She's probably barely a teenager by Bad Batch, technically,
yeah,
because they've been growing or at least working on the army for 10 years up to Attack of the Clones. Clone Wars are what, like 3+ years,
right.
and then Bad Batch shortly after that. So by the time the rebellion's in full swing, she's in her 20s or 30s. That's good. I mean, plenty of range there for people to play her live action. And I like Ryan's idea of like a pilot themed um, like show
Yeah,
where she's in it or a part of it, like they tried to do with Rogue Squadron, and I guess that didn't work out. Or there's a video game about it too. But
yeah. I
yeah,
don't think that's the end of her.
yeah,
I really think, and I agree with you. I think that she, if that is the end of it, at least like you said, she's got her own path. The rest of the clones, they're chilling. They're gonna do the rest of their time on this planet, and I thought it was a good ending. We got rid of Necromancer again
mhm,
because we're not gonna find out about it for 40 some years ish.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think Ryan, I think you're right. 12 years sounds very familiar, and I don't know if that was Omega or the clones. Um, I would
When
guess.
sorry,
Go ahead.
I was just saying, Ryan. I'm just kind of like doing age math. I don't know like when she was born and all of that,
Yeah,
but the clone process for this whole military project, you know, started like 10 years before Attack of the Clones.
right.
And so her and presumably Boba, are probably the same age.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And
and
Emery, I'm guessing, is similar to the Clone Force.
yeah,
Hunter and Echo and all those
yeah,
guys.
yeah, yeah. I agree, Ryan. I think she was in her 20s at least. At most
For
in
sure.
her early 20s. Um, but I am wondering. I kind of like leaving the Zillow Beast where it is too.
Oh yeah.
Um, that stressed me out. Thanks, Mom. Wishing me happy birthday on the chat. Appreciate it. She gave birth to me 28 years ago, so appreciate that.
I appreciate it too. We got a good
Yeah,
co-host.
uh, but I like leaving the Zillow Beast there. First of all, it's got its own freaking remote planet. That's great for it. But I remember watching in the Clone Wars it wreak havoc and going like, man, if that ever comes back, everybody's screwed.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's just where it is because I don't think the Empire is going to waste resources trying to get it back.
No, I think again, just like you said with Tarkin, he's taking all his resources, moving them over into his project, which we all know what that is,
Hmm.
and then that plan is probably just going to be done with. And I sort of thought, and I know it's not because then I just can't think of the planet that they were on at the end, but it almost looked like they like went back to the planet because they knew nobody would be there
Yeah,
and just sort of lived out their
Pabu.
yeah, and sort
Yeah,
of lived out their lives, there at Tanis. I almost
yeah.
thought it looked like Tanis,
Oh, it looked
with
like it. Yeah,
because it had like the almost like that cone shaped type of thing, but obviously
yeah,
it was not. But at first, when
yeah,
I first saw that picture, I was like, "Oh, are they back on Tanis?" Because again, everything was destroyed. Tarkin's like, "I'm taking everything. We're getting out. Nothing's there. We'll just
yeah.
leave it in disarray." And they moved in and said, "Hey, we should be good here."
Well, it's a cool thing too. Maybe I'm reading into it too much, but it's providing these little nuggets of information as to why the Empire just goes all in on the Death Star. You know, because up to this point, they've got all kinds of things they've been working on that have been foiled, and now they've got this thing that they've got on lockdown. So might as well just pump it.
Yeah.
get it going. Like we need something to just completely and totally govern. So we're going all in on the Death Star. And there are some of these projects like whatever Hemlock was doing on the side with the CX stuff where they might not have needed, there might not have been as much need for a total dominator.
Right.
Um, but I just like that because I recall thinking like, um, why were they so desperate for the Death Star? They seemed desperate even in the originals for the Death Star to work and to be their sort of ultimate tool to control everything.
Yeah.
And
One, I think that was out of fear for sure.
yeah, and I was like, oh, because they're afraid. And then Andor I just rewatched Andor with my girlfriend. It's
Nice.
awesome. Highly encourage everyone to rewatch it because I caught so much more.
Yeah.
But that's what they're saying. Like they build it all up because they're afraid. You know, they know that they'll
That
get
was my fault. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. They know that they'll get people rising up all over the more that they squeeze. So, Ron, you there?
Yep.
There you go.
I'm just trying to figure out my light situation. So while you're talking, I'm putting you on there. That's a full screen.
Hey, you look great. So
Thanks.
and then
Don't
Ron
scare anybody away. Say that again.
Ron shaved the beard, everybody.
Yeah. Summertime's coming. So again, we're talking Bad Batch season finale, season close. Just ending it here. So if you're just joining us, you might want to turn it off if you have not watched it yet. Again, I'd give it probably a 9. There was a couple things I hoped maybe a little more. A couple things might happen. Again, I was hoping for some cameos, but again, I felt very satisfied with the ending. How everybody, good guys or bad guys, whatever, died, or were still alive. Again, I think it was a big hit when Tech died. So again, I wasn't sure if they were just going to wipe everybody out or one or two more. I figured we would see Omega at the end. Not like that. That was a cool surprise, which I thought was neat. Just to show us, that she's got some, she's still around. They didn't just go right off into the sunset or anything.
And to your point about, Omega and whatever her path is, I think two things were cool. That as much as I think I've said it on your show before, I hate losing good guys, but I think loss is like a really good catalyst for the story. But I'm glad they all made it out because I feel that the alternative would set her on a different path, maybe more vengeful towards the Empire, maybe more Saw Gerrera type path.
Yeah, very true.
And for her to have her guys and to, finally, and to also free those kids is just like peace. And then she does what she feels responsible to do rather than a vengeful thing. And then the second thing is that we literally watched her last season learn how to fly with Tech, and now she's going to be a pilot.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. She's not going to be a sniper. She's not going to be like a special ops unit. She's going to be a pilot. Like I thought that's what made me kind of, like a little emotional about it.
Yeah.
But,
little choked up. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, oh man. And then they got his goggles on the dash.
Yeah. Yeah. That was definitely a tearjerker there and obviously they do that for the purpose. But yeah, I think that was a cool part of it where she did end up going to be, a pilot like Echo was, or like Tech was. So that was a cool little tribute to him as well. Because, again, I think they all saved each other, and that was the cool part about it. But again, it's still Star Wars. So you still have your mega bad guys, on here. So yeah, Ryan, a real life Uno reverse. Yeah, I think, for sure. It looks like there's a few more people. If anybody's got any questions, shoot them up here. We're going to be on here for a little bit longer. Just, we're talking about Bad Batch season finale. We do have, we had our last podcast. We had TJ on. I saw her this weekend. Let me see if I can bring that. Nope, that I actually saw Vanessa Marshall. while I was there. But I think, yeah, I got this right here. Yeah. So, I mean, what a great costume.
Yeah, that's TJ.
Yeah.
If anyone hasn't listened to our show with TJ, highly encourage it.
Yeah.
She's great.
Just a really cool person. She just embodies, Ventress, but again, just such a great, I mean, everybody was coming up, taking pictures and trying to, be like her. We do have a special guest coming on. Again, we've posted a few things about this, but we will have Michonne on the next podcast actually, and another special guest will be on with her as well. So we're talking about the Bad Batch. Spoiler alerts here. So we've both watched it. Everybody on here, if you've watched it, great. If not, you might want to turn it off and watch it after you've gone back and watched it.
Yeah.
Again, 51 minutes was enough time, I think, to get everything packed in there, to go, up and down, and they get captured and what's going to happen. And, so I thought that was really cool that they did put that out, because again, I was trying to find out what was going on, and everything that I was looking at was saying, that 20-minute range, 20 to 25-minute range. So I thought it was really great that they did extend it for that, which again, I think a lot of people would have been disappointed if it was a 20-minute thing and they were just trying to rush everything through.
Yeah, and I think it would have been, we were talking about this before, that would have been even more of an indicator of a spinoff for sure.
Yeah.
If this were a 20-minute in and out, possibly cliffhanger episode. And I feel like they're getting better at longer finales to wrap things up.
Yeah.
Or at least like two-parters or that sort of thing. I would say you had mentioned earlier that, what did you ranked it a 8.5 or a 9?
8.5 to 9. Yeah.
So I would put it on like right in the middle of a spectrum between how I felt about Clone Wars and Rebels finales. Clone Wars, personally thought it was a 10. I know you and I agree on that. I don't know any better way for that to have gone down as a whole. And then Rebels was awesome, but like it was obvious to me that like that wasn't it. Like that wasn't over. And so it was like, well, what's going to happen? And this story's not done for any of these people. And they even kind of tease it at the end when they're looking back on like, Rex was at Endor and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
I was left with the question of, okay, when? Even though I loved it. And I feel like Bad Batch is right in the middle, to where I thought it was great and closed out. And my questions don't necessarily have to be answered,
Right.
And that they're going to be fine. And that it's not obvious to me that they're going to totally make a clear-cut new show to resolve it. There's not a whole lot that's unresolved. There's nothing that's unresoled.
Correct. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everything, and I do. I think they wrapped it up. Again, they left, some things. If Dave, wants to go back to some of these things, he probably could, throw her in somewhere, maybe go back a little bit and see what happened in that, 10, 15, 20 years, to when we saw her. But again, if there's nothing else that ever comes out about that, I'm definitely satisfied with the ending on that. And it was funny because Deep Bradley Baker's posted a couple things, and maybe I just haven't seen him before, but when this ended, it sounded, he's like thanking everybody, and just so I don't know if we'll see him again,
Right.
and that's okay, because I think we had 3 full seasons of it. Again, if you haven't seen them yet, go back, watch them. Season 7 of Clone Wars, the first few episodes, that's when we get introduced to them. I thought that was a great way to introduce them and then sort of spin it off. So
Yep.
again, that could be where Dave's taken, Ventress, bring her back like that, and then pop, we're going to have another cool spin-off animation, Oh, and again, at that point, I guess, if they bring Asajj back in at that time, Omega would still be young, so they're not going to, I don't think they'll bring Asajj back to train Omega anywhere.
Right.
It would have been a cool little thing if they wanted to pursue the midichlorians
Mhm.
and Omega, but it looks like looks like they didn't.
Yeah, I don't think they need to either. I think that she's gifted, and those kinds of things would help her be a pilot and that sort of thing. Um, or that she's found her talents elsewhere, even though it's kind of like the argument of Luke and um, Luke, Leia, or even down the line with Rey. Just because they weren't trained doesn't mean like their survival, uh, like they weren't using the Force unknowingly as a
Right.
kid. You know, in order to survive some of those situations, they probably unknowingly are relying on their instincts or their abilities or whatever. And I feel like Omega is a similar deal. If it's the case that she's got this huge metachlorian count that was awesome to use for the Empire,
Right.
uh, I don't know if you need to tap into it. I think she can use it how she needs to. Um, Same way that I'm sure down the line we'll get Kanan and Hera's kid doing some stuff. I don't know if he'll end up training,
Yeah.
but he's already using it to help out.
Right. Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, he's
um,
already using the Force. Well, and again with Sabine,
yeah.
she's obviously her count isn't very high.
Mhm.
She's really got to work hard to do what she needs to do. I mean, yeah, she's a great fighter already, which we
Mhm.
know, but again, it'll be interesting to see what happens with her and Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ahsoka will bring that back again, and help her out. So go ahead, Fiona.
Um, with the metachlorian count stuff, I like that they didn't like retcon it, but they said, it was, Saj says it was once believed that you had to have a high count to do all this. So I like that it's still a measurable, but we're kind of getting back to like it's not the make or break point for like being able to learn the Force, like because that term didn't exist when Luke's training, when you were seeing him as a
Right.
kid.
Correct.
So it's I like making it more mysterious again, but also not getting rid of it, because I do think it was. I'm sure that's the only reason it was thrown into the story when you're comparing, like, well, how powerful is this kid that we found on Tatooine? Well, his metachlorian count's higher than Yoda's,
Right.
and no one's ever had it. It's like, okay, that was a clean way of communicating that, but I like that it's not necessary, and I also like that she doesn't need to train to use it. Probably, it's gotten her through this far,
Right.
and it's
Well,
through.
and Ryan's got something down there. I agree with that. Whether she is a great Jedi or whatever, but also I think, like Nick said, I think it's cool. She's got a bunch of the training from the Bad Batch. With just reprogramming that droid.
Yeah,
And they were in there with the kids. I
yeah,
thought that was really cool. So she's learned all these things. She's learned to shoot. She's learned to fly. She's learned this computer stuff, whether it was from Echo or Tech or whoever. These survival things that she's gotten from Hunter. So I think that, yeah, her relationship with the Batch, they have trained her well enough. Obviously, at the end there we see her grown and moving on her own. But I think that was really cool,
yeah,
how we get that, and it's not going, and nothing wrong with that. And I know some of people are just getting sick of the Force or lightsabers or whatever, but again, I thought it was cool that they didn't dive into that again and make her a Force wielding
mhm.
person, for the whole show or whatever. Whether she uses it or not, we'll see.
Yeah.
So
I think it's like I said, not to harp on it. I think it's just implied now that she is. She's not. She doesn't have. You got Wrecker's special abilities, you got Hunter's special abilities, you got Crosshair, all these things. She's able to like learn and internalize pieces of all of it, and I just think it's implied that she's able to do that because she's special. And why is she special? Because she's in touch with it a little bit. And
yeah.
I don't think you need to be. I agree with Ventress. I don't think she needs to get thrown into that. It puts an even larger strain on her and everyone around her if she enters that world.
Well,
Um,
and a target on her back.
yeah, exactly. And I think Ventress it'd be kind of cool if she knew this. She probably does not know this, but there's already a plan for bringing someone like that back. You
Right.
know, Obi-Wan's keeping an eye on it.
Yeah.
So So all that stuff. There's an interesting point I would like to make. I don't know where it comes from. Um, I'd have to sift through all of those to find out. But I'm hey, see you, Ryan. Thanks for tuning
Thanks
in.
for jumping on, buddy.
Appreciate the questions. Somewhere in the legends or the canon, it's pointed out that Obi-Wan actually had a very low M count, or at least a very low aptitude for the Force coming in as a kid. And to even be a Jedi at all was like a long shot for him somewhere in the stuff.
Yeah,
And so he worked his butt off, I guess, like dogged discipline. And was also, as a kid, I know this is shocking, was very defiant and was like, you know, at it. And just to get the opportunity, and then became awesome. So I
yeah,
think that was a similar thing where like that M count doesn't really, mean anything, because look what he became. It
right,
didn't matter. The guy with over 20,000 was coming at him. He,
right. He
knocked
defeated
off
him
all.
twice,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
So,
and
uh,
Maul.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, and I'm biased because that's my guy. But,
right.
uh,
Well, I think
but
he's one of the. I think he is one of the most underrated Jedi, though.
mhm.
He is very popular. People know him, but again, look at Grievous.
Yeah,
Vader twice,
yeah,
Darth Maul. He's defeated all of these. So again, I think he obviously. Yes, there's some will there as well, but I think he's just he's a badass.
yeah.
And I didn't know that. So again, that's one of the other good reasons why I bring you on for some of
So
that lore. But I think that's
I,
pretty cool.
I need to like start reining it in a little bit, because I pulled that out of memory, and human memory uh, is not a good resource. So I would love fact checking on that from comments, but I'm certain I've heard that, and I hope it was from a trusted source.
Yeah.
We'll have to contact the guy who wrote the Kenobi book and
Yeah.
see.
Well, and that's hopefully. I saw him this past weekend.
Yeah,
Um,
at
John
Chicago.
Jackson Miller.
Hmm.
It was in Chicago, and
Yep.
was a good dude. We talked. We were actually in the same line for Freddie Perez
Right.
Jr.
Freddie Prince.
Yeah, Freddie Prince Jr. And he was behind me and had the book, and I was like, and he's like, oh well, I wrote this book about him, or I have this book that of his that I want him to sign, and I was like, huh? And then I figured it out that he was the author,
Yeah.
and he had never met him or Vanessa,
Wow.
which was sort of cool, and he got them both to sign it this weekend,
Mhm.
which was sort of neat. But again, he also just dropped that The Living Force.
Yeah.
So, hopefully I did talk to him, and I'm going to try to talk to some of his people, and we're going to try to get him on. I think that would be a fantastic person like that to, excuse me, um, know some of this lore.
That could
You
be for
know,
hours.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Have you cracked open the Living Force yet?
I started the first chapter. It's a Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon,
Oh, nice.
which is cool. But I haven't just so much stuff going on right now. I'm going to be in Philly this weekend, which I'm looking forward to.
Mhm.
Get to meet some, hopefully get a picture with Hayden and Rosario, which will be cool.
Mhm.
Also going to try to meet up with some of the other characters. We got the new Tales of the Empire dropping,
Mhm.
which is cool. Do is that just one each week? Are we doing? Is that what they're
I'm
doing?
not. I'm not sure, because I recall Tales of the Jedi dropped more than one, right?
I think so. Yeah. Well, and that's what I like what they've been doing. Sort of like with Acolyte. When that
Yeah.
drops, it's going to be the first two episodes,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
will be cool. So at least hopefully we'll get a couple 10 or 12 minute episodes of the Tales of the Empire, which I think is going to be again phenomenal. We're
Yeah.
going to just learn more about Morgan Elsbeth and come on, help me with the Jedi name.
Oh,
Having a brain
Barris.
fart.
Barris
Yeah,
off.
Barris.
Yeah.
So again, I think that'll be cool, and hopefully we'll see some more stuff maybe coming out, but I don't think so. I think they've announced enough right now, especially with Tales of the Empire dropping on May 4th, Bad Batch finishing up, and the Acolyte dropping in June. I think right now that's obviously we'd all like to see more, or hear more is coming. And we know, again, we know Andor, supposedly Ahsoka, and the Grogu, Mandalorian movie. But obviously, those are all TBDs.
Hmm.
You know,
I
for
think
for
I think we've got a break on animated stuff after Tales of the Empire, considering we got Acolyte. I think by the time Acolyte's done, we'll get an announcement on Andor's date.
I think
Um,
you're right.
I don't know how delayed it got, but that was supposed to be what, the fall or the end of the summer, or it was
Yeah, I
supposed to
think it
be
was even supposed to be. That probably was going to drop for May 4th. I would have
24.
guessed if they didn't have the strike.
Yeah. Hmm.
So hopefully, by the I think they are talking about the end of this year.
Yeah.
From what I've heard. So hopefully we'll get that, which I think is going to be, again, fantastic because they're doing that whole, excuse me, they're doing the whole thing where we're going right up to Rogue One.
Yeah.
Which will be cool. So I think we'll see him grow a little bit. Obviously he gets a little bit more crass. I think
Hmm.
we already see how he is, but again, when we see him in Rogue One, he's just there's got to be some stuff going on that happens to him more. You know, for him to be that, I guess, mean.
Uh-huh. But
In Rogue One.
in Rogue One, you know, he's really for the cause.
Yeah.
And it's not really till the very end of season 1 of Andor that he even shows a glimmer of of being down for the cause.
Yeah.
You know, when he tells Luthen, either kill me or take me in.
Right.
You know, he could have been out of there with his friends and safe. Um, I think it has to do with that manifesto from his buddy.
Yeah.
From the heist or the robbery. But I'm interested to see what um, becomes of people like Luthen. What happens with Mon Mothma? Does she stay in the Senate? Like, I'm personally, I guess, not aware where she is during A New Hope and Empire, because we don't see her till Jedi.
Right.
Um, I don't know if Bail and her are still in the Senate by Rogue One. You know, Bail Organa.
Yeah.
And then he dies on Alderaan, presumably, because he
Right.
comes back. But um, there's a whole like political thriller side of it too that I'm
Oh,
interested
absolutely.
in. So,
Yeah.
I
And
think there's going to be a little bit of politics in Acolyte. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
no, you're good.
Yeah.
No, I think you're exactly right, and I think that the politics there, but I think Luthen, I want to see where he's going to go. I almost feel like he's such a badass, especially after we saw that ship,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So obviously he's a badass.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think that we might see him go away. I think we
Mm-hmm.
might see him die, during that. So we'll see what happens. But I really enjoyed his character as it started to progress.
Yeah.
I know we're getting off of Bad Batch a little bit,
Yeah.
but
Sorry, everybody.
hey,
But
we're still in the Star Wars universe, which is
yeah,
huge. But
all of that.
we're
Go
talking
ahead.
about Bad Batch season finale. So if you haven't seen it yet, you might want to go watch it. But we're just talking about it, seeing what everybody thinks, and we just got off a little track here on Rogue One and Andor. So, but what were you gonna say?
I was saying all of that to say that I don't see another after Tales of the Empire another animated series coming, until maybe a year from now or more,
Yeah.
because of those shows we were just talking about. So because of that, I think it was good that there was a nice ending to this and a resolved ending to this where you know, we don't need something out of it the way we needed something out of Rebels, regardless of how great the Rebels finale was, and it was
Right.
awesome. But we were like, man, I just want to know where they went.
Yeah.
And in Bad Batch, I'm happy for him.
Yeah. Well, and I do think that the ending scene there was good for the closure.
Mhm.
If you weren't satisfied, again, go back and watch it. I think
Yeah.
again, they're settled. They're on this planet. They've been there obviously for a while.
Yeah.
And even towards the end, before that last scene, he's like, we're done. We're done
Yeah.
fighting.
And
We've had enough.
the guy who found them is dead and his ship's blown up.
Right.
So and also on the Imperial side of things, it's pretty neatly wrapped up. Like now they're in Death Star mode. Like forget about it. Necromancer
Right.
comes along 30, 40 years later. Uh, well, it comes along maybe 10 or 20 years later, but
Right.
comes to fruition. Doesn't ever even come to fruition.
Right. Yeah.
So
Because yeah, it doesn't work because
yeah,
again, he just drank the energy from Ray and Kylo.
he's a corpse dying off.
Yeah.
So uh, the I think even from like I was saying, from the Imperial side is wrapped up. Makes perfect sense. They're moving on. Uh, they don't need to keep going after him. Tarkin's like this. We're closing this book. Like you said earlier, this is my show now. Enough of this nonsense. Um, Seems to me that they got the Death Star on lockdown, though.
Yeah.
Even more so than I just assumed it was through Rogue One, and they say how it is. But I mean, all the resources toward it now. No one's finding out until weeks before in Rogue One.
Right.
It's a serious lockdown.
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't see all of a sudden, obviously Vader's going after the plans, and the Death Star is already as we know, is in pretty much full functional mode.
Yeah.
And then they go ahead and take out Alderaan. So,
Yeah.
So hey, if you're on here, I see there's a few people on here. If you got any questions or any comments, or you want to wish Nick a happy birthday, please let us know. We're talking about Bad Batch season finale. We got a couple. Another episode coming on in the next week or so here with Mashan, who played Aura Singh. It's a great episode. Talks a little bit about obviously her character and getting into that, but also some cool stories about George. Also, we have like I said, a special guest. I'm not going to spoil that yet, but it should be a good one. So tune into that. Again, this past weekend, I got to meet this guy, which was sort of cool. Got to meet a bunch of rebels while I was there. If you didn't see this, Vanessa as well, which was pretty cool. So also got to meet Steve Blum, who does oh my gosh, I can't think of it right now. Zeb and Rebels, which was really cool. And then the young lady, I think it's Tia, who does Sabine's voice.
Nice.
Got to meet them too, and they had a panel which was really cool. It was a cool panel, and then Lars was on there, who plays Thrawn's voice and obviously plays him in Ahsoka as the live action. Got to meet him real quick, quick picture, but it was cool. It was just cool to see how they had never really met Lars before in person. This was like the first time because he did all his stuff in Denmark.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was cool, and they were talking about how that, and hopefully we'll get Vanessa on here. She was a very kind person, but they were all talking about how they sit. A lot of the times the voice actors, they get their parts or they go into the studio or they do their studio at home, and send their stuff in, and then everybody gets it and all the whatever happens. I don't have no idea, but but a lot of it was they were in the studios together. Which was sort of cool. And Dave would come in and talk to him about things, which was really neat. So it was a good fun time. Saw Paul and TJ there, met some other friends that were there. So be up in Philly this weekend. So if anybody's going to be in Philly this weekend, let me know. I'd love to connect with you guys while we're up there. Should be fun. There's a couple other things coming here to Nashville. There's the Nashville Comic-Con, which is the first weekend in June. I was going to talk to you. I think I put an application in. I'm going to see if we can get a booth there for that first weekend, which would be fun. Booth. Yeah, so that would be fun. And then if not, for sure, October ICCC will be here in Nashville. So try to do some things there, and then whatever else we can get to. I think we had talked about Dragon Con, which is September or October. So hopefully we'll get out to see those as well.
I want to say that's August, like end of August.
Okay.
Dragon.
Okay. Yep, you're probably right. No, you're probably. I think you are right because I think it's towards the end of my work schedule. So that should be that something that I did block off, so we should be good to go with that. So, again, we're talking Bad Batch. If you haven't seen it, you might not want to listen up. We'll probably wrap things up here in a little bit, but again, as we continue to talk about it, I'm definitely leaning towards that, 9.5 now, because again, I
Yeah.
think they did wrap it up really well, and
Yeah.
we don't have to worry about, like you said, what's going on with them.
Mhm.
I think Dave did a good job with again, just back and forth. We knew it wasn't going to be easy for them to get in there, to get her out. I mean, it was just on such lockdown. Uh,
Yep.
I thought it was interesting, and I don't know if we'll ever know, but Hemlock's hand.
Yeah, I
What's
thought
up with Hemlock's hand?
I we probably might not know, but I was wondering if he keeps doing that with his hand the whole series, and Crosshairs is shaking, and I was like, is he trying to pull a Moff Gideon here and like get like take so that he can be? I don't
Right,
know, like never found out. Doesn't matter, I guess.
right,
Um,
right. Or at some point, again, that's why I think Dave doesn't put little things like in there. So I think at some point we will see that
mhm.
somewhere where whether it's in a cloning process or something like that, they'll either reference it or whatever, bring it back, you know.
There's a comic with kind of about what's going on in Exegol,
Okay.
and I think I think he's showing it to Vader in the comic, and Ochi of Bastoon, who's the guy whose ship they were looking for,
Right. Yeah.
killed Ray's parents. I want to say it's from that comic or a different one where there's a vat with just a hand in it that they're
Okay.
like taking tests out of. I don't know
One
why
of
that would be Hemlock's hand, but like
yeah.
there's something about a hand that it's some sort of symbolism about the hand. Maybe it's Luke's hand. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and
Uh,
again, it's funny because I just saw a T-shirt like that that's got all the hands or arms that have been cut off.
yeah,
And it's
maybe
got
it's
Vader and
Dooku's.
Luke's and
Maybe it's Dooku's hands. Maybe
yeah,
it's
right.
Grievous's hands. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it's funny because
it's a rite of
they
passage.
do that with the hands,
Mhm.
So again, there's some tie in there somehow, whether we'll see it or not, who knows. But again, I thought, I wasn't sure what Rampart would do, but again, like I said earlier, he's still a bad guy.
Yeah,
I thought maybe he would
not,
turn a little bit, when they were talking and trying to get the clones out and this and that, but then he just was like, screw it. He grabbed the gun and followed after um, the
I'll say.
yeah, Nalase, followed after Nalase, with the gun, and I was like, oh, this is not going to be good.
Yeah, but this is probably intentional. But he wasn't even to me like he wasn't even like good at being a bad guy.
Yeah,
Like I never took him seriously.
yeah, he was very cocky.
Yeah, if I did take him seriously, it'd be because of the situation, not because I thought, oh man, this is a bad guy. Like him and Hemlock are in totally different,
Oh
uh,
yeah,
hierarchies in terms of bad guy. Um, and the Nalase with the detonator was a fitting end, to both of them. But it was hard because like when they're asking for Rampart's help, to what you said earlier, I thought maybe he'd flip because he's pissed at the Empire or
right,
something. Um, Never really did, and never really seemed to have any kind of remorse for destroying uh, the Kaminoan base or the city,
right.
Topeka City. Which, by the way, did you catch? Am I crazy, or was the little landing platform that they're out on at the end of this episode look like Camino
Oh yeah,
in the
yeah. I
rain?
think it did. Yeah, a little bit.
and,
Yeah,
and Omega had like a whoa, that's a weird sight, and they're on the same like a bridge. I
yeah,
thought it was cool. It's probably intentional, or I'm crazy. I don't know.
yeah. No, I think again, I think Dave puts everything in there intentionally.
Hmm.
So it very well could be because again, they're Naliste was there. It's some sort of obviously cloning facility.
Hmm.
That they're trying to do that. So we got 5 people on here. If even if you don't want to,
Just
got a
say hi.
question. yeah, say hi, or at least let us know what your what you ranked it 1 to 10. 10 meaning it was the best ending you've ever seen, and one it was terrible. But
Yeah.
again, I thought they did a great job just closing everything up. I thought it was fun. I think it was entertaining for everybody. We don't have to worry about, like you said, something breaking off. If we never see any of them again, it was a satisfying ending for that. So I thought it was really cool. So I'm just
Yeah.
look forward to the new stuff coming out. Looking forward to this weekend up in Philly. Again, we'll see the Tales of the Empire, which will be fun, and
Hmm.
then the Acolytes, which will be fantastic. I really think it's going to be a good series.
I think both of them are. I think Tales of the Empire is proof that this whole animated timeline that we're in may never end, which is a good thing. But it
Right.
doesn't have to be the people we talked earlier. Like, uh, I think if you'd ask anybody, who would we have a little small series on? People say Rex or Ryan. You're listening. In your case, Commander Cody. I wasn't asking for Morgan Elsbeth, but I'm psyched to see it because it ties in with other cool stuff, the Night Sisters, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And we
Well,
can
and I
do
think again, that Barris, the like you were saying on the last episode, I think with her interaction with Darth Vader, that I think is going to be an interesting, you know, relationship
that.
because again, he's not gonna. I wouldn't trust her.
Yeah,
Maybe she's a spy at first.
yeah,
So again, but I think she's gonna have to kill somebody first.
yeah,
You know, and before he's like, okay, cool, we'll send you in to take care of Ahsoka or whatever. But again, you know, that obviously happened. See, now where's the timeline in that? Because again, if we're Ahsoka, because what happens to her? Oh, I guess she goes to jail. That's it. So yeah, okay. So she's in jail. Sorry. So I had a
yeah,
little break part there. So yeah, so they capture her. She's in jail. Everything happens in season 7.
yeah.
Vader is
Shortly after
born.
they're working on, yeah, shortly after they're building up the Inquisitor thing.
Yeah.
And also, you kind of get it out of Obi-Wan and maybe Rebels a little bit, but there's a comic about, Vader being sort of gifted in quotations the Inquisitor program,
Right.
which Palpatine knows it's not a gift. Vader hates it. Uh, but it's perfect because like Vader thinks this is a waste of my time. These guys have nothing on me. I shouldn't
Right.
have to do this. And I think like as punishments, like he cuts limbs off
Yeah.
to our point earlier. Uh, and say, suck it up, deal with it, let it fuel you, all this kind of stuff. And so I wonder how much of that'll come through in the show. Um, because is it too early to make predictions?
No.
I think you're what you're talking about earlier about Ventress coming back. I think it could happen there. Um, I don't think Barris is going to be down for the cause at the end of the day. I don't think Vader is going to trust her. I think she's going to need to get out, and I don't think he's just going to kill her. So I
Okay.
think it's an opportune moment to get somebody like a Ventress to influence the whole thing. But you never know. That could be a
Right.
different story. But
Yeah. I think it'll be good. I think it's just gonna be. I think the opposite. I think that she's gonna turn. She's gonna keep doing. She's gonna be on Vader's side, the Empire's side. She sees obviously that she didn't agree with what was going on with the Jedi Order.
mhm,
Which, again, a lot of people didn't.
right.
It was just something different. Everybody had their opinions on it, but again, it was just different levels, obviously, of what you think or don't think about the Jedi Order.
Mhm.
Whether you're going to leave, or you're going to try to blow up, the Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
You
Uh,
know,
yeah, and I wonder if they didn't in Tales of the Jedi because they're different. They were in different times,
right?
but I feel like we're a little closer in time now with these two stories, at least parts of it, where we could get a little of this in the story.
Little
Like,
little overlapping.
yeah, if we're talking about like Thrawn coming up in the Empire, that's the same time as Vader coming up in the Empire as well. So
Yeah.
uh,
Well, and they're definitely crossing over because again, in Clone Wars we have Grievous,
mhm,
wiping out Dathomir.
right,
Obviously that the two of them, him and Morgan Elsbeth go at it.
yeah,
So again, it'll be interesting, you know, when one of the trailers, when Thrawn's asking her why do you want to come over here,
mhm,
you know, because again she was just fighting the Empire,
yeah,
because they came in and destroyed her world. So why, if that was on there, why are you coming up there? You
yeah.
know, why do you
Uh,
want to be on our side now?
I wonder what that's like. Just I don't know if there's an answer, but what do people view?
Ryan's still here. I'm just driving. Okay. So go ahead. And then we'll
I just
see what his
wonder.
question.
Yeah, before we get to Ryan, I wonder. I'm sure it depends on where you lived if you're one of those characters, but who views what as the bad guy? Do you view the Empire as a bad guy right away? Uh, if you're Morgan Elsbeth, the bad guy was the enemy, was this Grievous, was the enemy of what the Republic became, of the Republic, which became the Empire. So,
That's very true too.
so
Yeah.
I wonder if she probably doesn't even care about that. She just wants revenge. And if she sees that that's the way to do it, just like Thrawn does, he's access to the most power by being aligned with the Empire, then, they have a common interest. But to her, I feel like the former empire, being the Republic, defeated, quote unquote, defeated to everybody else,
Right.
the separatists uh, army came in and wiped her people out, not the Empire.
True.
So,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
No, you make a good point for sure. Yeah, and again, that's why I think it's so cool. Because again, obviously they think about these things because there's people out there that are way more knowledgeable than even you and I are,
yeah, yeah,
that get into that and just tweak all these little things. So again, I think it's cool how everything just sort of gets brought in together, you
right.
know. So I'm guessing Ryan's talking about.
Ryan's talking about Luminara.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, gotcha.
So Ryan's saying when we were talking about Barris earlier that her master was a prisoner, but we don't know when she was captured, and she was a dead body by rebels.
Right.
That's correct. So Luminara is dead, but for whatever reason they have her body as bait,
Yeah.
uh, and we don't know anything about what went down there. So, um, is Luminara alive at Tales of the Empire? Uh, I don't
Oh,
know.
I think we'll see her for
Yeah.
sure. I think
Uh,
we'll see, whether it's a cameo or a full, even one of the full episodes on her training, or the two of them talking about the Jedi Order or what's going on in the politics, and going back and forth. It'll be interesting if we even see Ahsoka,
mhm.
in these. If
Well,
we
we
do, it's
get, sorry.
we do. Go ahead.
No,
No, you're good.
we get the guy she kills in Tales of the Jedi for sure.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, yeah,
the bird mask looking guy.
yeah,
We
yeah.
get him.
I saw him. Yeah, which
So
again, I don't know. Oh, I sent that to somebody. Paul. I saw
yeah,
that popped up again. That's one of my favorite episodes. Or just that scene
yeah,
is so amazing, and he's just so cocky rolling in there. Oh, Ahsoka Tano.
yeah,
Okay, and she just, and then what I didn't realize until I just saw, I know I saw it, but she relaxes.
yeah.
She opens up her hand, and then she just one swoop just chops his head off, and I was just like, oh, okay,
I love that you see it again in Ahsoka when she's up against Maroc.
yeah,
She just stays right there and
yep. Well,
cuts
and I
him.
thought that was one of the best parts too. Was it the first or second episode when he's recalling his lightsaber and it's coming flying back, and she just goes, "Yep," just turns and lets it go
Yeah.
past her. I'm like, "Yeah,
It reminds me, it's very Lucasfilm-esque. It reminds me of Indiana Jones when the guy's flinging the sword around.
yeah,
Indiana Jones just shoots him.
yeah, yeah, absolutely,
Of
absolutely." Well, cool, dude. Thank you for coming on, and
course.
appreciate you talking about this again. Thank you everybody for coming out here. We got a couple cool episodes coming up for Star Wars Jedi Chat, which will be fun. Again, we're going to have Michonne on here, which will be a great episode. Her and a special guest. So please tune in for that. It should be out next week. And all the other episodes, please check them out. Let us know what you think. And we'll be back with Star Wars Jedi Chat. We'll come back next week. We might do another live, maybe about this the Philly thing. If not, me and Nick will be on here sometime soon with a guest or just the two of us talking Star Wars. And definitely we'll be talking about Tales of the Empire after this weekend.
We'll need to do that no matter what. So
yeah, for sure. And again, I'm gonna continue to do the Living Force, so we can talk a little bit about that. I think that's going to be some cool stuff, and we'll get some other cool guests on here. I'm gonna try to give out some cards and make some chat with some people, so we get some more cool people on here. And again, Ryan, thanks for coming on, and everybody else, appreciate your questions and tuning in with us and everything. So appreciate y'all.
Appreciate all the support.
Yep. Happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. And I'm gonna go ahead and let me see here. I got my little ending here, and we'll do that. So we'll see you next time on Star Wars Jedi Chat. And until then, may the Force be with you. Come on. Let's get it in here.
Oh, maybe see you, Mom.
That's